hardware device licensing is per device. And so if you have H.264 in your device, you pay per license up to a certain number of devices. Well, if you go from touchpad 1 to touchpad 2, you have to start those licenses over again. It's not like, you can have 1 million devices and only pay for the license on the first, I think it's 500,000, varies a little bit depending on what you're doing. But after that, the license is free. So if you're going to do a really mass market device, it's not a big deal. But if you're going to do iPad 1 and you're going to sell 400,000 and iPad 2 is going to sell 400,000 and iPad 3 is going to pay 400,000, your licensing cost per codec is a lot higher, especially these days when you've got H.264, when you've got the MPEG-2, you've got the MPEG-2 transport layer, you've got H.263. You don't have to pay a license for the onto /flash/ thing that Google bought that used to be called Duck, but you still have to pay for all of those things.
So is that why hardware is expensive, or more expensive than it could be?
It's a big portion of it. Every piece of the compatibility requires a license, and then you've got the patent portfolio stuff that goes into it. So you build a device, and a large portion of a thing that seems like it's mostly hardware is all of the license fees that you're paying off for the stuff.
Like in an amplifier.
Like in an amplifier. Yes, in an amplifier, it's a very big deal. A home theater receiver, not an amplifier.
Sorry. There's a difference.
A car amp, signal in, make it bigger, signal out. You don't pay any licensing fees, usually. For a home theater receiver, you're paying for each of the Dolby licenses. Most of us want some sort of surround sound upsampling so we can stick a stereo signal in and get that virtualized sound. So you're either going to pay SRS or Neo or one of the people that have a surround sound dynamism, yeah. That one.
What's that legit? How did this conversation even come up? Like, Jake was saying something that he was surprised.
The HP touchpad only has H.264 and H.263 listed on its supported codecs, which would leave out the VP6, VP7 onto codec that could also be found in Flash Video.
Although, HP does say it supports Flash, which probably means that it's baked into the browser in the device. You just can't play back videos natively in whatever the media player is.
Yeah, and then you get into these really weird combinations of, is it supported in hardware decoding or software decoding that also affects the licensing?
Wouldn't it also affect battery life too? Like, depending on how it was decoded?
Yeah, software decoding is generally going to be harder on the battery, which is part of the reason that when you're watching videos on a device, lots of times the battery life is lower than just browsing stuff. And part of the reason that some of the laptops have like a DVD-only mode, though, is because the right system on a chip could play a DVD with less power than running the entire operating system.